The virtual Brics summit was held on September 8th. The meeting was attended by S Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister of India, on behalf of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Other members like Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin were also present at the meeting. It was convened by the Brazilian President Lula da Silva. Now, the summit overall focused on trade disruptions caused by the US tariff actions. Now, it was an important topic because Brazil was hit by 50% tariffs. India was also hit by 50% tariffs. China at 30% now, but could increase by 200% as indicated by Trump. Russia faces sanctions over Ukraine war. So all founding members are affected by these tariffs and sanctions. Trump also earlier threatened that BRICS members would be hit by 100% tariffs before the last meeting in Brazil. So what is this BRICS first? BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It is a forum for cooperation among leading emerging economies. All members include Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Indonesia, and the UAE. So what happened at this virtual summit now? Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for a unified response by BRICS nations to trade challenges posed by the US, emphasizing the need to build an open global economy. He also said that BRICS must unite and leverage its strength to achieve more cooperative results in trade, finance, science, and technology. He also highlighted the GGI, or the Global Governance Initiative, that he had proposed at the SCO summit as well in China, a concept to preserve world order against the US dominance. Brazilian President Lula da Silva condemned what he described as tariff blackmail. He said that it is being normalized as an instrument for market conquest and to interfere in domestic affairs. He also backed India's chairmanship of BRICS for the next year's summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi could not attend, so Jaishankar had addressed the summit on his behalf. He said that economic practices must be fair, transparent, and to everyone's benefit in an environment of global uncertainty. He said that the objective of BRICS should be to create more resilient supply chain at this juncture when there are multiple disruptions. He also focused on the need for BRICS to address global conflicts, work towards reforms of global institutions, and help member states reduce trade deficit, which is important in context of India's trade with China and Russia. But well, obviously the US did not take it well, and this time it did not come directly from Trump. It came from his trade advisor Peter Navarro, who has lately been criticizing India like there is no tomorrow. He has called names, saying Russia-Ukraine war was actually Modi's war, claiming India is the laundromat for the Kremlin, and now he called BRICS nations vampires and said that they suck blood of the US with their unfair trade practices. He went on, he said that BRICS nations cannot survive if they don't sell to the US. That's a very bold claim coming from the country whose businesses have a huge market in India and China. But why does the US care so much about BRICS? Well, because numbers speak for themselves. BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, have overtaken the leading Western economies in the G7 in terms of combined GDP measured by purchasing power parity. The combined GDP of the four largest BRICS countries now stands at $64.7 trillion, eclipsing the $43.9 trillion of G7's top four, the US, Germany, France, and Britain. Here's the breakdown. China at 37.1 trillion, India at 16 trillion, Russia at 6.9 trillion, Brazil at 4.7 trillion, and that's 64.7 trillion for Brics. Compare that to G7, US at 29.2 trillion, Germany at 6 trillion, France at 4.4 trillion, and Britain at 4.3 trillion. And that isn't about just the size, it's about the pace of growth. Britain's GDP is rising at just 0.9%, Germany at 0.3%, France at 0.5%, and US at 2%. In stark contrast, India is growing at 6.5%, China at 4.8%, Russia at 3%, and Brazil at 3.4%. The average annual growth in Brazil is 4.4%, 4 times faster than G7's 1%. Now, the bloc represents 45% of the world's population. Brics also controls significant commodity markets, including over 40% of global oil production. On rare earth too, its countries control 3/4 of it. Brics nations are also diversifying from the US dollar and pushing for de-dollarization. Trade is also increasingly done in local currencies and alternative payment systems away from the West. The bloc also wants to create its own currency for trade, but that has hit a roadblock. Why? Well, India is not fully supporting it. India says that trade in local currencies is just a way for diversification, and earlier in October 2024, Jaishankar stated that there is no proposal for a Brics currency. One reason could also be because of its relations with the US, but those relations are now fading, and India is strengthening ties with China too. For India economically too, pegging to yuan or dirham would increase dependence on specific economies, challenge India's monetary sovereignty, and provide disproportionate economic influence to China and Russia. So, well, it makes sense for US to act this way, but if you look deeper, all of this issue is because of Trump's own policies. It's his tariffs that are backfiring and bringing other economies closer. So, well, here's one reason why he should get the Nobel Peace Prize for uniting the world against him. For more such news and views, keep watching ET Now.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.